The Bruins are boned in a sense for the next couple of games, though. Brad Marchand will be the main event of this podcast. They played the Pittsburgh Penguins a couple days ago. Earlier in the game, Tristan Jarry was going to flip a puck up over the glass to give it to a Penguins fan, and Brad Marchand swiped it out of his hands and or off of his stick and sent it down the ice in a move that some people call the complete dick move, but also hilarious. Some people just thought it was hilarious. Some people thought it was just a dick move. I don't know if you guys have takes on that.
Pretty shit. I don't know. I don't like that. He's trying to give a puck to fans, man. Like, there's a goddamn, like, I don't know. I didn't like that part. That's the part where I really didn't like Marchand in that moment.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, but I do think it's a gigantic dick move.
Yeah. I agree.
So then we get to the controversy. The Bruins are losing to the Penguins. A few moments before this incident took place, Tristan Jarry swiped at Charlie Coyle with the stick. Something that doesn't get called too often. But and shout out to that massive alert. I forgot to turn off my Streamlabs alerts again, so enjoy hearing Christian Bale yell.
Good for you.
Let's see. Shout out to Tub and Bubbles for the follow. Greatly appreciated. That's twitch.tv/Tougie24. Goaltenders in terms of slashing at players doesn't get called that often. Could have been called. It's a bit sneaky dirty. Wasn't the, it's not like he baseball swung it at his head, though. I keep things in reality.
Case, you got to put Coyle in the box.
Yes, for daring getting slashed by the goalie. A few moments later, Tristan Jarry stops a scoring chance, I believe, from Taylor Hall. Brad Marchand's near the goal. Jarry looks up to his left, and clearly, he and Marchand start talking to one another. I don't know who started it, who said what, but clearly there was an exchange of words. Marchand then approaches and takes a swipe at the side of Tristan Jarry's head. Now, you can call it a punch, and yeah, it was a punch. Debatable how much Tristan Jarry sold it. That's right. I'll say it. And even if you don't think he did, somebody compared this to Todd Bertuzzi hitting Steve Moore.
Oh my God.
Just to show you how out to lunch some people are about this. It was a jab to the side of the head. It's a dick move. It's unnecessary. But Jesus Christ, do you have to go with the most egregious comparison that ended somebody's fucking career? You knots? The fuck's the matter with you? I'll continue. Marchand starts to skate towards the bench, then starts to approach Jarry again. Referee does a terrible job of keeping them separated. Marchand gets back to the top of the crease, where he takes a swipe at Jarry's face, neck area with the stick. Again, not a baseball swing like some people are calling it, but still completely unnecessary. You certainly crossed the line there if you didn't with the jab. Using your stick to frickin' tap somebody in the neck, the head area. Completely unacceptable. Fine-worthy, suspension-worthy. I do not disagree in the slightest. This is not me defending Brad Marchand. He crossed the line. Again, let's not clutch our pearls and act like Tristan Jarry is this innocent bystander, though, who did absolutely nothing wrong and was just subsequent. He was on the receiving end of this brutal violence from Brad Marchand. That's not, no. Come on now. Marchand was subsequently suspended 6 games for this. It's his 8th career suspension, which I believe is an NHL record now. And he has now been fined, because of this, a grand total, or at least forfeited cash off of these suspensions and fines, of $1.4 million in his career, which I believe is also a record. Now, Marchand did recently have a suspension back at the end of November, a slew-footing incident against the Vancouver Canucks that cost him 3 games.
Called it?
Looking back, he has lost 28 games worth of playing time. Now, again, here's my argument. Because a lot of people, and we'll get to that in a moment. Hold on. Now, Marchand is appealing this alongside the NHLPA. Fluto Shinzawa, who's a local reporter, had this quote from Brad Marchand saying, "Was it stupid? Of course it was stupid. I'm not denying that. I absolutely should not have done it. But suspension worthy? I don't think so." Now, again, I'm cool with it being a suspension. 6 games might be a tad bit high. And the main response I got was, oh, but his history, but his history, but his
He only
history.
has one that fits the parameter of actual history, right? And it's the November
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because of the repeat offender status
Yeah,
and
that's
how
what I
that's
meant.
been
That's what-
reduced. So, yes, now technically, here is the issue, right? And all the talk of this history, a player's history. This is my argument. Horrible handling by the Department of Player Safety leads to others either not having a history at all
Yes.
or not having the history that they should recently. PK Subban has slew-footed like 4 fucking people this season. I don't believe he's been fined. I don't believe he's been suspended for it. So it's not on his record, so you look it up, and PK, well, he doesn't have a history. Marcus Foligno of the Minnesota Wild just got suspended for 2 games for kneeing Adam Lowry in the head after fighting. Lowry's turtled. He kneed him in the fucking head like it's Pride in 2007.
That's like that's an illegal move even in a sport where you're supposed to knock the other fucking dude out. Like that's the objective.
Yeah, you can't do that
Yeah.
in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's against the rules.
That's insane. And 2 games.
My argument with this is Brad Marchand's history. Let's be honest. Brad Marchand's history is not nearly as extensive as it should be. That's just a fact. His history is this. 6-game suspension for what he did to Jari. 3 games for slew-footing earlier this year. Between that, though, that was November 29th, 2021. His last fine was April 2nd of 2018. I fucking love Brad Marchand. I am sure he did something in that 3.5-year span that should have gotten some sort of fucking discipline. Let's be honest. He had another fine in 2018, a 5-game elbowing suspension for a moment against Marcus Johansson when he was on the Devils. 2017, 2 games for spearing Jake Dotchin. 2017, a $10,000 slew-footing fine against Nick Cronwall. 2015, so again, almost a 2-year gap, at least a little bit over a year. 3-game clipping suspension against Mark Borowiecki. 2015, 5K fine for punching Gabriel Landeskog. He sucker punched him. I remember that well. Landeskog, though, as a lot of people will tell you, a bit of a chippy, dirty player, and Marchand just walked up to him and punched him in the face. I thought it was pretty funny. Deserved to be fined for it, though. Suspension for slew-footing Derek Brassard. Suspension for the low bridge on Sammy Salo, which was awful. Absolutely awful. Literally just ducked down, like, well below hip check level and just fucking flipped him like a table. It was awful. Slew-footing in 2011, and a 2-game elbowing suspension for elbowing RJ Umberger back in 2011. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 examples. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
I don't know. That seems
But that's
kind of
Brad
high.
Marchand.
It's a
But
lot.
for Brad Marchand,
Yeah, I guess.
like 13 examples, I'm not doing this to cater to the people that don't like Marchand. In my opinion, that's probably low.
Yeah.
But it's this idea of, oh, well, his history. Literally, you can look at Brad Marchand's history and see how the DOPS has fucked it up because his history should be even more extensive. But you can't sit there and say his history like it's some smoking gun when we all know that the DOPS fucking sucks. Period. Like, end of. There's no argument in favor of, like, oh, the DOPS does a good job, and that's why this 6-game suspension is right and justified. I hate to bring it to him, but when you want to talk about another controversial player, Tom Wilson and his fine and suspension history, he has 6 incidents on his record. Just 6. Now, granted, the most recent one was punching Pavel Buchnevich in 2011. Before that, 7 games for an illegal check to Brandon Carlo's head, 14 games in 2018 for an illegal check to the head of Oscar Sundqvist, 3 games illegal check to the head of Zach Aston Reese, 4 games for boarding Sammy Blais, and 2 games for interference against Robert Thomas. You can literally look at the biggest instigators and their histories and say, boy, that's not nearly as extensive as it should be. I just don't get that argument of Brad Marchand's history when we know and have called it out all season long in the past couple of years just how bad the DOPS does of establishing a history for somebody. again, like PK Subban and a variety of slewfoots this year, no discipline whatsoever, he should have a history by that logic. He very much does not. So that's my only bit of frustration with that, is people trying to use that as a smoking gun. PK Subban's actually never been suspended in his career and only has 4 fines. 2 from 2015, 1 from 2012, and 1 from 2021. PK Subban, pretty clean player. So, boys, I don't know if you saw the incident. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on the Marchand thing.
I didn't know about the stick swing afterward. I just saw him hit him in the head, like just kind of punch him in the head when he was on his knees. I'm like, how the fuck does that get you 6 games?
It had to have been the stick swing primarily,
I guess, but I didn't see that, so I can't comment on that exactly. But yeah, who knows? I'm still just pissed. Like it's crazy to me. Like people all the time, like, oh, Department of Player Safety sucks. It sucks. It's so horrible. And then it does something that they like, and then they're always, oh, it looks like they did something right this time. It's just like they did something that like benefits you and your arguments. Like that's it. Like that they still suck. And I completely agree with the, players who like don't have a history thing, because there's so many players out there who should have histories. There's so many, especially in the playoffs, these dangerous hits that go uncalled. And I'm gonna keep bringing it up, but in the whenever the Bruins lost to the Blues, I'm sorry, what year is that? 18 or 19?
2019.
19.
Yeah. 19.
Well, the Blues played the Sharks right before that, and there's a hell of a lot of headshots in that series. One to Joe Pavelski, who was just coming off a pretty horrific injury from a concussion, where he's, and I heard that thing. First of all, I kept hearing, well, yeah, you guys got away with a hand pass. Motherfucker, what? A hand pass versus headshots is completely different things. But yeah, it's like, oh, well, yeah, but they just don't have a history. Dude, if they looked at it, if they simply looked at it, but none of them were even looked at, we never got word. Like, there's so many borderline bad hits and shots, like, directly to the head that actually end up injuring people, or even if they don't injure people, they should still be looked at, because I don't think the result of a hit, it should be how long you get, necessarily, it should be how long you get, like, punished for, or at least as much as it seems to be sometimes, where it's like, oh, well, he's injured, we gotta, do something at this point. But yeah, there's a lot of bad hits that simply aren't looked at, and so yeah, they can't get a history because they're like in this group of players that they can't be touched, or it's against this group who seemingly, like I've said tons and tons of times, I don't know if anyone's gotten suspended since then, but it had been since like the year 2017 or something since anyone was suspended for an act committed against the Sharks. Which is pretty nuts. Then you think, oh, it's George Peros. Oh, the enforcer at one time for the Ducks, who used to constantly get his ass kicked by Sharks players. That's interesting.
You mentioned 2019. I look at Braden Shen's history. He's someone that always comes to mind, as much as people are freaking out about the Torrey Krug end-to-end hit. Braden Shen literally had a moment where he was almost parallel with the ice in the air, going to headshot somebody. Braden Shen hasn't had a fine or suspension since April of 2016. And I'm sorry, Blues fans, I'm not calling him the dirtiest player in the world, but Braden Shen is an incredibly physical player on the ice. You mean to tell me there hasn't been a single moment, accidental or not, that might not be suspension-worthy with a player that plays that close to the edge? Yeah, I don't think so. It's just... Marchand, the way I'll sum it up, deserved to be suspended for this. 6 games might be a bit excessive, but at the same side, you can't get into the argument of, well, his history dictates it, when we know that these histories for players, or lack thereof, are because the DOPS is completely inept at their job.
Yep.
In a funnier note, the governor of North Carolina was trash-talking Brad Marchand on Twitter. So
apparently he wants engagements, because Brad will fucking tear him up.
God.
And on a lesser note, at least for Bruins fans, the Hurricanes did beat the Bruins without Marchand, without Bergeron, without Tuukka Rask, 6-0 last night. The Hurricanes have outscored the Bruins 16-1 in the 3 games they've played this season.
It's one of those teams, man. When you go up against them, you're like, all right, auto L, I'm just going to not watch.
I didn't.
Don't blame me, man. Like, with that sort of history.
So... Brutal stuff there. The Bruins are still in a decent spot, but in general, the Bruins' chances Playoff-wise, man, that Atlantic's a buzzsaw. The Metro's a buzzsaw. I'll just be happy if they make the playoffs this year, I gotta be honest. But with that, gentlemen, if we have nothing else to add, I think it's been a solid show. Thank you for letting me rant and rave about Tuukka Rask, as I could do on every possible show that we ever do.